Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and welcome to Mondays with Mr. Happy, aka Mr. Happy Mondays, a weekly Q&A show where you ask me questions and I answer them back in San Francisco for the time being, as you can see, and back to a regularly edited Mondays with Mr. Happy for the time being as well. I don't really have too much to say for this week. I took a week off of just making videos altogether while I was away on my trip. I did have videos scheduled, and this week I've taken kind of a respite from just posting anything at all. The main reason being is that buys me time to be set up for the next several weeks. I've already recorded 3 Final Fantasy XI Let's Plays. I've got the return of the Final Fantasy XIV Let's Play. I've got a video going over a raid retrospective that I've already recorded and rendered. And I'm going to be doing several raid retrospectives, so I'll be able to kind of get a bunch of those ready to go over the next several weeks. We've got the Cosmic Exploration content coming out this week, so I'll have a few kind of videos sprinkled about. There will be an 11 Let's Play this week, and we'll see if I start the 14 Let's Play releasing this week or next. But the idea is I am making efforts to get weeks and weeks and weeks ahead of schedule for regular releases, and then pause those releases whenever I have an incredibly busy week, like the week of Occult Crescent. I will probably not be putting anything out that isn't Occult Crescent related content. I don't know for certain yet, but that's like the idea, the plan. And yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about that. I've got some other ideas. I'm working on my Final Fantasy IX Platinum video. I am going to be working on the Versus series again. We're going to have to revisit some of the other jobs because a lot of jobs have seen updates, and I never did the Melee one either, so we've got plenty of stuff to look at. Fortunately, I don't need to redo the Fizz ranged one, but I could make another Machinist video kind of going over some of the same points that I made about the job in the past, but maybe that's a horse that's better left unbeaten at this point. Either way, I figured I'd give you guys a bit of an update about what I have going on content-wise. I don't have any updates on the other thing that, the situation with my mother that's still unfolding. I will say this. I'm going to make a more formal announcement when I have all the information. My mother is claiming that she is, that there's a settlement that has been signed with, I don't know. I guess I should just wait for the information. But she says that she's getting a settlement for the eviction that she underwent. I don't know exact, but it's supposed to be like there was like wrongful eviction, which honestly, if she can prove to me that she paid it and maybe it was just a case of like sending the wrong forms. I did read through some of the comments, and there was somebody who said they were a lawyer who said that when it comes to foreclosures, it can actually be really common that people actually pay, but they don't send all the correct forms out, and thus, that's why years down the line it made sense. Honestly, if that was the case, it would be a huge relief for me, but I would still be pretty upset that after everything I went through, that, hi, Ivy, that it still ended up being, what it has come to at this point. But I wasn't able to get information out of her for so long, and now finally, supposedly she'll have a settlement, and she'll have a document for me. I'm not holding my breath, honestly, at this point, but it's like, I can't help but keep my eyes on my phone fairly frequently just to see, because she was just talking to me right before I started recording this, and hopefully that means I'll be seeing it tonight, but who knows. And when I have more, I'll make another post updating, because I really want everyone to know what happened. I want to know exactly what happened, because I walked through the entire process with her. She had the money in escrow while she tried to get the amount that she owed in mortgage reduced, because between the time that she filed and the time that they accepted, they still charged her another month or two of mortgage payments or something that she's trying to get out. I've seen some of the other bills that she sent me for that, but I don't have the documentation to say outright that yes, she absolutely did the thing that seemingly was done. So I'm really hoping the settlement just clears everything up, so we can all have our answers, and I can move on with my life more than anything. At this point, the settlement for the money is not even the point. I honestly just want to know what the hell happened, so I can have all the complete information for everyone. But yeah, that's what I got going on. I've got a lot of comments. I don't know how many of them are questions, because last week was kind of a special Monday Q&A, so we should probably get started. Shout out to our sponsors. For one, we have Steelseries. Don't forget, Steelseries has been supporting me a lot over the last several months. I haven't been making any content for them, even though they sent me a bunch of stuff. and I feel kind of bad. It's just that this entire situation kind of held precedent. So if you're ever looking for peripherals, please ask me questions about them. Always ask questions before you buy. But if you are just looking at them and you know you want something from Steelseries, use my link. It's included in every YouTube video on my Twitch stream with !Steelseries. And there's a 12% discount code that you can use if there's no other discounts. Feel free to use any other discount you want. If you're using my link, it doesn't matter. The discount's just there for you in case you want it. Also, shout out to our sponsors on Patreon. I don't release any Patreon exclusive content, although they are introducing their own live streaming. So I might do that at some point. It's a lot to ask right now because like I'm already going through a lot of other stuff. Like I'm putting a lot of time into just my YouTube content creation, but it's possible that I might be able to do something with that. But I'm going to wait for more information because I don't fully understand it yet. But for now, the Patreon's just there. It doesn't offer any exclusive content. I don't really like pay gating any of my content, whether that be memberships on YouTube or Patreon itself. But the option's always there, and I appreciate everyone who does opt to actually use it on the monthly. With that, let's actually get into what the video is supposed to be about, a Q&A. Oh, this is a long one to start. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Art thou well, kind sir? I'll take that as a hello. Yes, I'm as well as can be, I suppose. After 7.2, what are your expectations for jobs in 8.0? I guess I should maybe read the rest of the thing because I don't understand. You know, I loved how rewarding Summoner was. After its rework, I switched to playing Melee. Kind of slept at Pictomancer. When I finally gave it a shot and fell in love, then they turned it into the filler mage. It feels so hard. Okay, so it's largely talking about some of the job changes that they made. So I will say it would be irresponsible of me to look at the current things and use them as a basis to judge any 8.0 job changes, and I'll tell you why. 5.4 Monk was generally was received very similarly to what people are experiencing with like Pictomancer, Black Mage, and that job turned out really good from 6.0 onward. Now Summoner was reworked in 6.0 and thematically was really cool, but hasn't since been well received, especially its update in Dawn Trail, where a lot of people were really disappointed in it. So we have examples of good and bad mini reworks slash consolidations. Ninja's another decent one from 5.1. And so to say, hey, they did this and it'll get better would be silly because we have examples of it not going that way. But to say that it's representative of 8.0 changes would also be irresponsible because we've seen it go the other way. What I will say is this: I don't think jobs are going to change as substantially as people think they will. I feel like some people are expecting like to have their worlds flipped upside down, and I'm not. I'm just expecting them to make the jobs play more integrally to their job gauges, or for their job gauges to be less samey. But I don't think you're going to feel a drastic difference in the terms of like how Final Fantasy 14 plays now versus how Final Fantasy 14 plays then. It's still, I think, going to be 2-minute meta. I think we're still going to have a lot of the same kind of ideas behind burst windows and managing of gauges and stuff. They're just going to play out a little bit more uniquely, I feel. But there's no way to say for certain. Again, it'd just be irresponsible of me with really no context into the thinking of what they're planning for 8.0 to say it will or won't be a certain way. I just try to avoid that kind of stuff. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Congrats, Haps. Hello and thanks. Hope the best for you. Thanks. Due to what did happen over the week, I imagine you'll probably be streaming, playing, and recording with a mystery person. So my question is, when do we expect any sort of content or videos of you two? So, as of the releasing of this video, of this weekly Q&A, we will actually have done a stream together. Now, we've already done a couple of activities on stream, just like I've helped her with some stuff in 14. Like she needed like a thief map, so I like grabbed some of my chat and said, let's just go get this done. And what do you know, my first map, we got her thief map that she needed for her thief map party. But we're actually doing a fishing train together the Sunday, the day before this weekly Q&A comes out. And I've considered I will probably like chop that up and make a video for it, just because it'll be the first time I've ever really done big fishing, and it'll be the first thing that we've done together. So maybe that, but I'll say this, our relationship didn't really begin. We'll probably have a video about it at some point, but our relationship didn't really begin because of Final Fantasy 14. And so we don't really like associate us, the idea of us doing content together is not like, there's not like a content plan there, I guess is what I'm saying. Like, oh, you know, we're dating, so we should do like content together. That's not really what we're thinking. Like, we want to do things together, but there's not like a content plan that is like centered around that, if that makes sense. Like, we're in a relationship, and the relationship is not, they're just two completely separate entities. Then they don't necessarily happen because I think you understand what I'm saying, right? Listen, we're enjoying each other's company, and that's the most important thing. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello, Mr. Happy. Hi. Mini follow-up to last week. I hope you're going to remind me what it was, because I don't remember. The damage profile is a lot of fun here, hoping they keep it coming in the next Ultimate and Savage here. This is less of a question, but definitely agreeing with you about the ability, weapon skill, aesthetics. Oh, it's about the reward structure of things. Yeah, Warlock Greenfire sat at mid-workup and shouted, thank you in the gym. Definitely had the option to use different animations. Yeah, I mean, even the ability to go back and use Wide Volley instead of Shadow Bite would be a really welcome thing, to just downgrade the skills aesthetic to use a lower level version that you may prefer, because some people prefer simpler aesthetics, sometimes people just prefer a different aesthetic, and that little bit of customization I think is definitely something that people go a long way. Like White Mage, even just going back down to using stone spells instead of using glare, some people would absolutely prefer. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned that here as well. So yeah, that idea I think is something that is totally okay for them to do. I don't know how it is in the programming side, but the idea I think is something that people would appreciate. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello. Hi. Hope your week has been good and your return trip went smoothly. It did. It went better than my trip there, because I'm a terrible flyer, but I actually took Dramamine on the way back and I think it worked. Most of the time Dramamine doesn't work on me, but I think it worked this time. My question is in regards to the current PF landscape, which I avoid like the plague. Do you think personally that some action from SC should be taken to prevent the use of ACT? I've been in the... Interesting that you say that. Now, I'm speaking from second-hand knowledge here, so I welcome the comment section to correct me. But if I'm not mistaken, they did recently take an action against ACT, and it may have been tangential to the blacklist changes that they wanted to make. Apparently now, due to the way that they're encrypting information, the only way for ACT to run, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, because it's a secondhand information that I'm getting, and I'm just regurgitating it, that you actually need to inject code into the game now for ACT to even function. Which is interesting if that's true, because you can definitely see how many people have opted into it if that's the case. It is what it is. SC seems to be more or less that much. Yeah, because here's the thing. It's not good to not have that information. It seems like it should be, but that kind of information is how people generally frame, like the really experienced players will frame their feedback about jobs. They'll be able to get a really good amount of information about damage profiles and how much one job is contributing with a certain ability and where buffs are more like, in theory, that's how it can be used. And also, when you're doing high-end raiding, you want to know if you can squeeze out an advantage somewhere else. Now, tombstone checking, on the other hand, is a different thing. That's actually been around in World of Warcraft, an equivalent of it, for a very, very long time. And yeah, that one's a little weird to me. A lot of the times, there's a lot of abuse when it comes to systems like that. So it's really hard to tell if it should be around or not, because again, ideally the function of catching prog cheaters makes tombstone very useful. A lot of people prog cheat, and honestly, even with tombstone, it's not perfect. Like, people will prog cheat. So prog cheating is where you join a party that's beyond your progress point and you kind of just hope to kind of squeeze through to it. And it actually has a lot of different forms. Let's say, for example, you made it to the final phase in M7. Right, you made it past the 50% point, and then you get to the seeds section after the lariats and after the first tower. But let's say that you died 12 times getting there. As far as I'm concerned, you don't belong in any party that's progging on the second to last sinister seed mechanic, the one with the last death match, whatever it's called, demolition death match. No, I think it's demolition thorny. No, Demolition Deathmatch might be the last one. Whatever the last deathmatch is. Like, even if you've made it that far, but you've died 12 times getting there, everyone would agree you haven't progged the Demolition Deathmatch. You are not consistent enough at the rest of the fight. And so there's always a way that people kind of get around that, or people kind of be like, oh yeah, that's how far in the fight. No. That's how far in the fight you've seen. That's a very, very different thing. So yeah, it's one of those, it is kind of just, it is what it is. And some people will use it more egregiously, and some people will use it less egregiously. But it's a symptom of people. It's a double-sided symptom. It's a symptom of some people being like really high strung and honestly like overvaluing themselves in a lot of cases. A lot of people who do that kind of tombstone checking are inherently, at least 50% of the time, anecdotally, don't have the data to support that, are the problem people themselves. And then the other 50% are people who are just sick of prog liars or prog cheaters, prog liars. And then 50% of people who are trying to join who are getting checked. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like the problem's on both sides. So it is what it is, does kind of boil down to what it ends up being. However, if ACT is injecting code into the game, I would be scared to do that. I know that people have done it before for other third-party things, but that really takes it away from the gray area where you should just read logs. I mean, to be fair, people have crossed that line for ages now, so we're well beyond it. But yeah, I don't know how much you want the most major tool to venture further and further out of gray and into red. But I mean, at the end of the day, nothing will probably happen. So I think it is what it is, because there's just too many people are people, and it sucks. Just how it is. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello there. Hi. A general question on LB generation. Slogging through M6S and PF, and I noticed yet even with proper party composition, sometimes the party easily gets an LB2 at ad phase, or sometimes they barely get it or not at all. What is the overall LB generation mechanic, and what do you recommend to consistently fill the LB bar in rating? So the LB bar will naturally tick up based on your composition, as long as you don't have like duplicate jobs or any of the conditions that would lower it, which you've already listed about party composition, but also based on mitigation, healing, and deaths. Actually, when people die, LB generation tends to get kind of wonky, because any of the HP and mitigation checks that would have provided you with limit gauge prior, there's now one less person alive to contribute to that. That's also true where, let's say an attack brought 7 people in the party down to really low health and killed one person. That one person did not contribute to the limit break generation of getting low. They did not generate to the limit break generation of healing up from that critical state. And as such, that really throws it into flux. Now, that's the other major thing. When you barely survive attacks, you do get a significant amount of limit break from that. So if you have like one part of the fight where an AoE is always a little spicy, there's a good chance that's helping your LB generation a fair bit. And so depending on damage variance, consistency in your group's ability to mitigate, or even if your party's over mitigating and you never have that critical health thing, all those things can very specifically affect your limit break. It's also worth mentioning that if somebody disconnects, that your limit gauge will cap out at 2 while they're offline, but when they reconnect, it will actually completely brick your limit gauge. So it is absolutely worth kind of burning the limit break if you have somebody disconnect as well. It's just another little like fun bit in case you want to try to get through something with a 7-man scenario. But yeah, that's the big thing, is mitigation and healing pull to pull is for a lot of groups not consistent. And if somebody dies, it also screws it up. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey there. Hi. Hope you're doing well. You too. Been a while since I asked the question, but this is a simple one. Sure. Do materia boosted stats make a difference when synced? No, materia does not work when you are item level synced. So in other words, in Unreal, if you're wearing all the newest stuff, and you're wearing anything above item level 695, your materia is worthless. Yeah, silly, I know. Now, that's not to be confused with the average item level. You know, sometimes there's a required item level that you need in order to go into an instance. That's fine. That doesn't actually item level sync you. But for any activity where you are actively item level synced, your materia does nothing. It is actually a majorly criticized part of the way the materia system works as a whole. And a lot of people have wanted a solution to it. Whoops and I actually had a discussion where we said that you should be able to materia meld. Instead of materia melding gear, gear provides materia meld totals available, like raises your meldable stat total on your jobstone. And your jobstone wouldn't get item level synced. So that's been like a roundabout solution that would take probably a lot of back end work, because you'd have to remove an entire function from all the gear in the game, or make it no longer have any effect, and then add that entire function while building out a new UI and system for it on the jobstone. But it would be a solution. That being said, for the sake of your question, materia boosted stats do nothing when you are synced. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello. Hey. Questions. Oh, I guess these are 2 questions. I was like, it's so short. Why does it say plural? What capturing recording software? I just use OBS. I've used Marilla's Action before, and it's actually quite good. But mostly just OBS. What editing software? I use Sony Vegas. Honestly, I don't like any of the editing software enough to like swear by any of them. I haven't really gotten too deep into DaVinci, but I've heard similar complaints about DaVinci as I've heard about Vegas, as I've heard about Adobe is like can do a whole lot, but really not beginner friendly and kind of frustrating. And Sony Vegas has like crashing issues, and you always have to find like add-ons and stuff to make a lot of basic functions work. And again, I don't have enough experience with DaVinci, but yeah, I use Sony Vegas, and quite frankly, I'm not beholden to it. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happier. Hey, Haps. Hi. Glad to see things are looking up for you in some way, in the most important ways they are, but still looking at my phone, waiting like, hey, would love to get that information. Okay, a handful of extra hellos just in case. Thank you. I've heard and seen that there have been issues in PF with parties restricting a lot more jobs than just the underperforming ones, Dark being added to the chopping block for M6S, for instance. So what do you feel there will be a time frame where most PFs adopt the mindset of restricting parties to a strict job lineup while barring the other 13 jobs? No one's ever going to restrict all the jobs. That would be ridiculous. I think they know that their PF won't fill. If they cut out a job or two, that their PF will likely still fill, and it's just going to kind of suck for those people. No, but if you start cutting out a lot of jobs, then your PFs never fill and your experience is miserable. No matter what, you will always find that the problem is not the job people are playing, it's the people playing them. And so like even a machinist can get through M6S just perfectly fine as long as that machinist and the other people playing know what they're doing. Do they know how to cleave the moves? Do they know how to do the mechanics properly? Are they able to target properly? That is always going to be the key component, especially in M6S. Yes, there are some jobs that cleave better. There are some jobs that benefit from cleave maxing more. Some of them hurt with cleave maxing more. But in all honesty, at some point, it'll go the other way where people won't care as much anymore because the amount of item level available will be so high that it's just completely pointless to skip them out. I've contemplated going through on Machinist now that I've had a few weeks. I've got most of my gear. The only reason I'm not is because I don't want to, I have a tome weapon. So it's like, I don't want to give up the tome weapon to make our reclears like less geared. You know what I mean? But I already have the idea of like what you would do in that phase mapped out on Machinist. And quite frankly, it's probably fine. But it doesn't matter. It's just a matter of I need to, I would need to get in on it anyway. But no, you're overdosing on Doomium. That's for certain. Wow, this is a super early hashtag Mondays with Mrhappy. So funny thing, I was on the East Coast when I set the time frame for it. So I set it for, oh yeah, I released this at 7 a.m. That's 3 hours late, so it was a 4 a.m. release. Honestly, 4 a.m. release was fine, if you ask me. Hi, Haps. Hi, do you have any advice for dealing with PF anxiety? Just stop thinking about it and just do it. That's literally it. Just stop thinking. Turn the brain all the way off. Just dip your head in ice and then just join a PF. Because you'll soon realize that the problems extend so far beyond you that you think you'll be the headache, but you're going to be the one with a headache. Because here's the thing. If you're thinking like this, there's a high probability that you're not the problem child in that PF if it comes down to it. I'm just saying, when people are conscious of like wanting to perform well, they generally perform adequately. Whereas people who don't think about it, well, I don't need to explain. Hashtag Mondays with Happy. Hello. Hi. Got a simple question around when do you see when do you predict to see the launch of 7.3? Fortunately, this isn't really much of a guessing game. There's like a 1 week variance, but all you have to do is add 19 weeks to when the patch released. So, when did the patch release? What was it? Yeah, it was March 25th. So add 19 weeks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So August 5th is looking like a really good date. Now, within 1 week variance, don't be surprised if it's August 12th, for example. I actually think it's highly likely it's August 12th for a handful of reasons. One, the extra week vacation the dev team takes during summer. That didn't stop the previous patch from still being a 19-week schedule, but they specifically noted that there would only be 2 major patches this year. And by doing the 20-week cycle for this patch, they can comfortably do a 21-week cycle for the following patch and release it in January so that we don't have another holiday savage on our hands. So let's say, for example, let's say they do August 12th, and then let's count 19 weeks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So 19 weeks would fall on December 23rd. So 20 weeks would fall on December 30th. Terrible idea, right? 21 weeks falls January 6th. Then 1 more week would be Savage. I genuinely think that's what you're going to see. I wouldn't be surprised to see the August 12th 7.3 release and the January 6th 7.4 release. It's a much slower schedule than usual, but the amount of feedback about the timing of 7.1 and 7.15 with like chaotic being Christmas week after we had Thanksgiving Ultimate was awful. And so I think they really want to avoid that again. And but given their statement about only having 2 major patches, I think that's exactly what's going to happen. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hey there, Happy. Hi, how's it going? It's going good. Really hoping your plans for the future with all the financial stuff that's going on work out. Yeah. I mean, you know what? I already said everything at the start of the video. I'll just wait for more information. You're not the one that deserves to be fucked over here. No one deserves it. You guys don't deserve it. Just none of us deserve it. One quick question. Why does Square Enix even increase the potencies of all kinds of actions for all kinds of jobs? One number squish already happened with the potency increases. Another one will happen pretty soon again. So they actually made a statement that they've made a lot of back-end updates. So the number's getting big again. The only reason why they really wanted to reduce the numbers before is because it was causing a lot of back-end issues. But they've openly stated they fixed a lot of that stuff. So the numbers getting big actually isn't a problem. So I don't think they are going to squish at all in 8.0. I could be wrong. Obviously, there's nothing to say they will or they won't, but I don't think it's as cut and dry as obviously they'll do it again because our numbers are pretty much the same or higher. Just feels like a change that does not impact gameplay that much, does not improve feeling. Well, so the big thing is they want you to see a skill that you're used to seeing, and they want you to see that number go up a little bit higher, and they want those crits and direct hits to feel like they're scaling up a little bit higher as well. So that's usually the reason why. And the game is balanced around the idea that they're doing this for all the jobs anyway. I do agree it's completely pointless and they don't need to do it, but I'm pretty sure that's the logic behind it. And increasing the potencies all over the board makes old content even easier than it already is and fucks up downsyncing. I mean, downsyncing is what it is. It's just meant to be just a method to equalize, quote unquote, equalize your stats amongst, you know, other players that you might be in there with against the content you're doing. It's not meant to preserve the difficulty in any capacity. Now, I don't mean why they add actions to change rotation. So, for example, no, it's just increasing the potency. No, I understand. I feel like my answer is at least covered what I theorize would be the reason the most. But yeah, I agree. They don't have to. I don't care. But that's what they do. So, real quick before I answer this, the question above, not even the question, there's a statement above it that says the Steelseries link doesn't work. It does work, but if you are running ad blockers, because it's an affiliate link, naturally, if you have an ad blocker, affiliate links get caught by those because it looks like, what's the exact term that I'm looking for? It just doesn't like the redirection of the link. Like it sees the part where it's redirecting after you click it because it's like my link and then it has to take you directly to that, causes issues. So more than likely that's what's actually happening, but that link does work. I know that link, and I've answered this question on stream before, so like I'm used to it. But that's why. Hashtag Happy Monday. Hello, Haps. Hi. If you hadn't thought of this pun before, here's one for you to use after I thought about seeing it. The Twitter post. If and when it happens, no. Why you gotta, dude? Listen. Let's slow down a little bit, all right? Hold on. We just got started here. Let me relish in the moment right now. Besides, that joke's already come up anyway. I was thinking of making a short video if I can say enough words on the topic, and after seeing your video discussing the Savage post clear, I was wondering, why do you think outgearing MADS ads is bad? And more specifically, is it bad to force players to not always push for bigger numbers? It's bad to punish your players for having more gear. It's just not a good thing to do because you just sit there doing nothing for long periods of time, and that's terrible design. Like just sitting there waiting, because if you actually press any buttons at all, you're gonna cause a wipe. That is just bad design. There's a difference between designing a fight where a phase push, for example, needs to be well timed, and even then I think those are lame. I think trying to time a phase push to catch exactly the right time is also awful. I'll talk about this in the raid retrospective when we get to Second Coil, but it was a terribly annoying thing in Second Coil in particular, where bosses were outright sometimes unkillable if you pushed them at a bad time. Not because you didn't know the mechanics, not because the mechanics were too difficult, but because the fight became unsolvable. Now, this is not a case where it becomes unsolvable, but it's a case where you instantly die just because you were doing what your job asks you to do, and you had too much gear for the game to handle. That's just not good design. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. No hello. Unfortunate. As someone who gets PF Burnout by week 4 of proccing Savage, what are some ways to... Oops, forgot to... See, they got it. How you doing? I'm doing all right. You doing all right? I'm doing all right. What are some ways to stay motivated after a week of, say, ads proc? Honestly, it's not even about motivation. It's about not taking it that seriously. At the end of the day, your PF should be fun and hilarious and not entirely about you claiming victory. Most of the people I know who succeed through PF, they know how to play their job. They do whatever they can, and they just accept that there's 7 other people that are playing the game and that they're not giga gods all the time. They're people. They make mistakes, and some people have more human error than others. There's differences in skill levels, yada, yada. So instead, what they do is they pull the things that happen out of that, and they become stories to share. They become funny experiences after the fact. And a lot of the times, the fact that they can kind of take life and take that experience in life day to day and use it to, like, either, they use it as like a way to bridge a conversational gap with somebody else who's going through something similar, or they use it as a means of making other people laugh, or maybe they look back on it and think it's funny. That to me is valuable. And I know this is a little bit deep of an answer for how do I put up with the PF, but it's just like the less serious you take your actual progression through the PF while still actually playing your job well, the more likely you are to just have fun and not burn out, because even the failures become hilarious stories that you can share later. And wow, that was actually the last question. There were just so many comments about, the social posts about Spoofy and I. And then a lot of puns. He's happy. You're happy. Apparently a lot of comments on some people are surprised they have long, guys, this all didn't just happen. Just as a reminder, I've had long hair for a while. I know that without the natural lighting, it's not as easy to tell. Because I've had long hair for a good while now. And my workout routine I've been doing for like 2 years now, too. Actually, it'll be 2 years next month. I started dieting 2 years ago in April, but I didn't really start working out until a month into dieting. So it's like, this didn't just happen. Like, you may not have seen me in a while, but reminder that it wasn't overnight. Like, I've been working on it for years at this point. You know what I mean? I haven't cut my hair since October 2023 even. And that's just because I'm lazy, to be fair. But, yeah, and that's just like the majority of the comments, either the hair or congratulations. And also, I'll never go back to social media. Honestly, fair. I cannot in any way fault you for that. You're smart and you live a better life than I do. Simply by not being on social media, you have improved the quality of your life significantly. Oh yeah, look at that. Simo mentioned. Yeah, I mean, I've watched a good amount of Simo in recent times. Like, it's significant. I've commented on a few videos as well. I just finished watch. I commented on the King of Games series. And yeah, I've watched a little bit of like Rarin and a few other people. Like, yeah, that like whole TCG crew. So yeah, I go through and I watch occasionally. Yeah, and then that's just always just a whole bunch of that stuff. So that's going to be a wrap for this week's Q&A. It was really quick, so don't forget to ask questions in next week's video in the comments section of the video below. Cosmic Exploration is coming out this week, and I'm sure you will have plenty of questions, but I will, of course, do a patch note reading on Tuesday, probably an overview on Cosmic on Thursday, and then a State of the Realm, which we'll release on YouTube on Saturday. So we'll have probably 3 Cosmic Exploration-related videos next week. So please look forward to it. Hi. Anyway, with that, I'll see you all in the next one. Until then, take care.